Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Litchfield County Sports Program. I'm your host, Tim Gaffney, joined in studio by my good friend, Mr. Rick Wilson, and a couple of terrific guests we got this evening. Well, happy last day of August as we record this, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, it's great. 90, 95 degrees out, sun, sand, And
that's in school, right?
How about SBAC results and back to the luxuriating in the Common Core? Yeah, we're back in school.
How's the air conditioning at Thompson High School?
Perfect.
Okay, good.
The air conditioning's
good. Not bad. One of our guests is going to borrow an air conditioner from you in a minute, but it's okay.
The air conditioning's good. No problems on that front. Actually, it's been a good opening.
There you go. Very good. Well, we got a lot to talk about today, and we have a special ending to the show where we bring back something we used to do on our radio program on WAPJ, where we pick random topics from a hat. But tonight's show is all about John Bongiorno. It's about the New York Metropolitans because we've been too abusive to them. And finally, we have 3 Met fans in the same building, and it has not burned down yet, so life is good. But before we start, I want to thank our good friends at Vinny's in Torrington, who actually supplied us with some great food before we got started today. Anytime reporters and guests are together, we must have food. That's just how it works, right?
That's why we're all looking so
svelte. That's how we look so
everything.
Svelte all the time, right? And also our good friend David Zeller at Zeller Tire in Torrington. We thank all these fine folks for supporting us. But it's also about fantasy football today, and fantasy baseball and fantasy football. I looked it up today. Fantasy football is a $1.5 billion industry. Okay? What are we doing, Rick? Teaching and writing. What is the deal? I mean, just do that DraftKings like you see on TV. Do you believe that? The guy that won hockey for $1 million has just won $1 million for football. It's the same guy. He's really lucky. I'm not sure.
Well, it gives you something to root for on Sundays, and there's a little carrot at the end of
of
not just wondering if the Giants are going to get a first down today or something like that.
Right.
So big business.
Kind of gets you inside there, and John has always wanted to have a show on fantasy baseball or football, so tonight's show is dedicated to that. But we've also got 2 terrific guys from the community, one from Torrington High School and one from Litchfield High School, who also I think might be still hurting from some of the running and sliding and jumping in the Tri-State Championship game, but we'll get into that in a moment. But to my right, I've got Pat Richardson, who is the Torrington baseball head coach. Evening, Pat. How are you, sir?
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And fantasy, anything, baseball or football. You do both, and how long?
I do both. Baseball's been longer. I've done that for probably 15 years, I think, something like that. And actually, I do it with Kyle, so that's fun.
Should we be sitting this far apart? Is this
we're
good?
fine. We're fine.
Good? All right.
And football's been within the last few years.
Has it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's fun as well. So
how are you surprised at how big it is?
Not anymore. When I first started, and the more you get into it, it's addicting. It's a lot of fun. Like Rick was saying, all of a sudden all the games matter. You get to know the players. You root for individuals. So if your team's not doing that well during a season, it gives you something to root for, and there's a little pride involved. And it's a great way to stay in touch with people. People that you know. So.
Over 50 million participants this year, from what I understand. It's absolutely crazy. And to Rick's left is the athletic director at Litchfield High School, Kyle Weaver. Hi, Kyle. Welcome to the program.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Whoa, of course. And, congratulations on a Tri-State championship. The Cowboys, Litchfield Cowboys won the championship, last week. Terrific game. You were the star, 3 for 3.
Yeah, how about this guy here?
Scored. I mean, come on.
Talking to us about the sore body for the 3 days and this and that. Goes 6 for 7 in the last 2 games. Gets what proves to be the game winner, the series winner in the final game. That's a pretty good way to end it.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely done after that
game. I meant the season.
We all wrote the same article that we can't believe our good friend, but we'll see what happens.
No, I mean, it was definitely a team effort. Our pitching staff was great. And I know I hit the ball pretty well, but we can't do it without the 9-10 guys that we
and Joey Serafin, I mean, he's going to be 45 and still throwing. Now, we understand the fact that at some points he was identified as a large right-handed pitcher, but we're not going there tonight. But anyway, just poor Joey. I remember Joey from 1997 with the Twisters when he was throwing bullets when he went to college in Vermont. And that he looks the same. He's got the long hair going, and he still throws, absolutely. How much fun was this season for you?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, the fact that we were able to compete every single day, and just showing up and playing baseball was the best part of it. And winning is even better when you win. So it was a great job.
And even guys on the other side, from Tri-State, you had some pretty good competition. And that whole Tri-State League, I mean, Rick and I have been fans of Tri-State for a good long time with, Eddie Gadomski, who does such a great job of, that's not a beer league. That is a competitive, you better bring your A game every time you come to the park.
Yeah, correct. We're placing college players on teams because they know how good it is. And, I mean, it gets these guys ready for college ball.
Well, when you're talking about Chris Blasick facing Mike Fabiashi, that's two guys that were minor leaguers, and not that long ago. They're both in their 20s, so the quality of what you're seeing is top-notch these days around this area.
In the show, and for the fantasy folks out there, how long have you been involved with it, and how intense does it get?
Football, very intense. You study up for all week. You go against your best friend, and you think you have your set lineup, and you think you have your line ready to go, and you watch those games, and it's something to have the bragging rights. But hopefully you do enough homework to get enough points, and you play the right guys, right matchups. So I like it a lot.
That's why I'm not good at it. I don't have time for doing the
homework. You
homework.
and I have been heavily involved. I was in a family one last year, and this and that, but I wanted to ask these guys. I mean, because there's 8 million how to pick your fantasy football programs on and this and that. Is there a strategy, you guys? I mean, Tim, you picked your first team today, right? You took Gifford and Staubach, all right? So Jim Brown.
Namath's making a comeback, brother. He's got this. He's got this.
Is there a strategy you guys use in doing this?
Well, it's kind of something Kyle was saying. You do your homework a little bit, and you play matchups. I look at things in the off season too. See how old running backs are getting, things like that. How many touches they had the year before. And there's some people that go by that. And then what kind of moves they make in the off season, how strong their schedule is, how weak the schedule is. And all that kind of plays into it because really all that matters is
these guys
playoff
are serious.
time.
There's no question.
These guys are serious.
They just lost me on the first part.
Well, when he said he does his homework in the off season,
now, how do you do that? Is that online? Is that in magazines? Because I know there's a lot of both.
There's online programs, ESPN, CBS. There's up to the minute information. The NFL Network. So you can you really don't have to work too hard to stay.
You got a strategy?
I go for running backs. They're a high commodity. I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league, so I'll go with running back, and then from there, depending on who's available, either take a quarterback or a pretty good receiver, work my way down from there.
So running backs before quarterback.
Health-wise, there's probably 5 running backs that I would take in the first round before I take a quarterback.
Interesting that you say that because today when they ranked everybody, Adrian Peterson was the number 1 in this entire draft in Yahoo that I did. And there wasn't a quarterback till like 30-something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that astounded me because I figured, well, that's the guy with the real points. But how do you score points? We'll go way basic. How do you get your points in fantasy football?
Touchdowns, touches in the ball, and yards. So
certain amount of point values per each of those?
Yeah, the way we do it is it's 6 points for throwing a running touchdown, 4 for a throwing, and then every 10 yards that individual gains is an extra point. So
is that kind of universal?
Pretty much universal. You can tweak it here or there between leagues, but it's pretty universal.
So now when the guy pulls up with a lame calf and he's not even on your team, you might be mad. You're like, what? Yeah. There goes all my points. No switch in the middle of the game or anything like that, right? It's all over with. Now, where do you guys do this from? Do you get together with friends? You go to restaurants, bars? What do you do?
The major league that I'm in, we're all friends, so we actually had our draft live with each other. But there's other ways you can do it. You can do it online and things. It's a lot more fun to do it live though with people that you know. And
I would imagine, yeah, because today was just bloop, bloop, 15 picks until your pick, and you just sit there, you do something else, and then all of a sudden, you have to put your people in the queue, right? Or a queue, or in TV, we got in the queue. And then all of a sudden, it's bloop, 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 bloop. Everybody takes your cue, right? I'm thinking that I might be tipping them off to something. So you keep running through, and you do, I just went with who's the highest rated, whatever is left. You know what I mean? And, let's take a look at the Gaffney fantasy team because I've got some experts here. And from what I understand, I got the beast. I got Lynch as my running back. That can't be bad, right? Bongiorno's shaking his head. He says no. He thinks Beast's not going to have a good year this year. He's not sure. Andrew Luck is a quarterback. Just seems to always, might not win all the time like the championships and the rest. He puts up points though, doesn't he?
I think he's the number 1 quarterback in the league this year.
Points, right?
And he's getting better every year, and he's going to have a big year this year. That's a great pick.
I know that the young man, Hilton, T.Y., I know he's on the injured reserve. Not on reserve. He's just got a concussion, so he's probably out for a little bit. Got to tell you the truth, never heard of half of these guys to some extent. If they're not on your team, you don't know. You got to kind of fill in. What I did was just go with most points left at running back, most points left at at whatever it was. How do you guys take stock in defense?
Well, you typically draft defense late just because you can play matchups, so you don't necessarily have to ride the whole season with a real good defense. I typically like to have that defense, so I might go a little earlier than other people. But that's one position, because these are such wild cards with running backs, backup wide receivers. Most people say it's wise to wait on your defense and your kicker and draft these positions.
I was going to ask you about the kicker, same thing. I mean, that's some steady points normally, but not a ton, right?
Yeah.
There's no more points for a 52-yarder than a 40?
In my league, if it's 30 in, it's 3, 40 is 4, and anything over 50 would be 5. So
okay.
There is some.
All right, so there is a little bit of
extra.
A little bit of motivation in there, so that's interesting. And, I did look at that, defense end of it, where depending upon who you're playing, it might, anyone playing the Jets, good luck. You're going to have a great day.
Or
defensive-wise, or
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
You don't have anybody from the Jets on your team.
That probably tells you something, Mr. Wilson. I was probably a little smarter than I looked when I picked this, didn't I? Because the only one that came up, I think, was Marshall, was the wide receiver, and he wasn't that high up, and I think he blipped at some point off the screen because I was multitasking, writing a story, doing this and the rest of it, and when the little thing went blip, it's your turn to draft, I went back and prayed there was somebody left. Do you ever preset a team and then just let it go? Because I've done that before with some, and I've actually done as well as I did the other way.
You mean let it go for the whole season?
No, just let it go for the draft. Just preset it where you pick your whatevers, and then the computer will automatically pick the next one that you do. Have you ever done an auto pick league?
No.
Okay.
I would think that would take some of the fun out of it.
It would, but usually those guys that do that have the best team, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But sometimes you might not just be around, you might not be able to, so you preset it before you go to work or something, and then it goes on. So I don't even know. The kid from San Francisco, kicker-wise, I figured Colin is still probably going to put up some points, which means the kicker would have some kind of opportunity to do something. So I thought a really little about this, and we'll see if I don't come in last.
Well, let me ask this. Kyle said he likes running backs, so let's look at Tim's running backs here. Tim has you got John in the back. I don't know. He's smiling back there. You got Lynch, got Andre Ellington, got T.J. Yeldon from Jacksonville, Giovanni Bernard from Cincinnati, and Shane Vereen. I wonder if it's any relation to Ben.
Yeah,
from the New York Giants.
Well,
on a scale of 1 to 10, Kyle, where are you giving that?
It depends on where you drafted these running backs. I would say Lynch and Bernard were probably your top. I would be my 2 starters.
Yeah, this is actually how I think this is my order of draft.
I like Yeldon as a sleeper this year, but hopefully luck can carry you.
And it was really sometimes it is that thing where
nicely put.
Who's left, right?
Yeah.
Is that sometimes what it is? And is it luck of the draw because there was 10 different people in it? And is it just luck of the computer as to where you start, 1 through 10? Because I know you rotate, and then if you're number 10 and then you're number 1, the next time you're back to back.
I think it's a preference. I wouldn't want to have the first pick. I like the number 5, 6 pick personally.
So you come around,
kind of see what's going on with the league, who's taking what. Because usually once the quarterbacks start to go, then you kind of jump on that train real quick, so they don't take all the quarterbacks in front of you.
Now you said there's about 10 in your league.
There's 10 of us in our league.
How many, Pat?
10 also.
10 also. Yeah.
Seems to be kind of a comp. But I mean, you look at Yahoo and this: just join a public league or join a private league. Now, the private leagues are more like ones that you'd have to pay for to join. Some of them.
No, private is just you get invited into the league, and then
Just
usually the
guys
money's
have
handed outside of that, or you can put it online if you want to. But it's basically you invite 9 other of your friends. It's not just a public where you can just enter anyone.
How about things like DraftKings? What do you guys think of that?
Well, who knows, what's next? I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel, that seems to be the new craze, and fantasy football is just exploding. And, those sites, you can spend anything from $1 to, I don't even know what the cap is, but it's amazing. Yeah, it does. It does.
On how much people might, you guys do something with your league financially, but I'm sure it's not anything that, because on FanDuel and the rest of it, you hear we'll match your first 200. I'm like, that's the whole year, boys, or 3 years. I'm not doing that at one shot. So if they're matching your first 200, that's like Vegas. That's not good, right? That means people are probably losing a great deal of money at this at some point, where people probably don't do it like you guys do. Have some fun with it. Don't lose sleep. Don't be the fanatics that just go absolutely crazy, both at the stadium, and with this. Fantasy baseball or fantasy football, which is your preference?
I'm a baseball guy, but I like fantasy football because it's that one time a week where you prepare for it all week, and then you sit down and watch all the games and hope you made the right choices. And there's nothing like it.
Baseball a little tougher to keep track of every day.
It is. It's less intense. Where the adrenaline's really going on a Sunday when you're doing fantasy football. But baseball's excellent too because it's all year. It's it's every day, and you can kind of go with the ebbs and the flows of the season. So it's nice.
And it is amazing what they've done online as far as letting you track like the last 7 days, the last month, the last 6 months, what you did last year, his shoe size, the color of his hair. I mean, they get pretty involved in this kind of stuff. So I mean, I guess when you guys first started, I didn't ask you, Kyle, but how long have you been doing it?
About 10 years.
Okay. And
About
was
10
it
years.
first started online, or was it started?
Yes, it was online. We did live drafts, and I started with football first, but I've gotten to the baseball more and more
You
now.
were very intense. You brought your computer in case we were doing a live draft
I
tonight.
wasn't sure how much information you wanted from
I
me.
think perhaps next year we do a live draft on here. What do you think, John? Look at John out from behind the camera, and we'll do our own. Rick, you up for it? Just press a button.
Absolutely.
What do we care?
Can't look any worse than we do now. How much time a week do you? I mean, Pat, you talked about doing some off-season stuff during the season. How much time a week do you spend with this? Couple hours, or?
It's not a ton. I mean, if it's probably 10 minutes a day. I mean, it's really looking at a website and stay with the latest news and things like that. Looking at the matchups. I mean, ESPN, CBS, they rank. They actually have rankings for you. So if you didn't trust in your own intellect and your own experience, you
What
could
do you think
actually go
about
on
this?
these sites and they'll rank your players for you.
Same with you, Kyle? 10 minutes a day or something like that?
Usually by Thursday, I start looking at the rankings, and then if it's 50-50, I'll go with the better player of whatever the hunch is at that time. So.
No kidding. And it really has. It just seems to have just skyrocketed as far as everybody doing something with it.
Well, Joe D. and Gresh did a fantasy football on WTIC special last Thursday, I think, and I don't think Francesa does anything with it on the fan. It's
I don't
probably-
think so.
No,
Just give me a Diet Coke.
yeah, I
and let it
mean,
go.
wherever you go, that's what you're reading about. So.
And you do, and just that. I mean, ESPN has a special fantasy show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's broadcast shows. Every network has their own fantasy guide. Before every game now, you end up going to the fantasy guy for a couple of minutes of airtime. So do you guys ever pay attention to those guys last 10 minutes?
Not typically,
Okay.
but sometimes they really. I mean, they spend a ton of time researching this stuff. So
Can you believe they get paid for it?
I know.
Great. Yeah, job on TV talking about fantasy sports. Hey, well, we have a job talking about sports. So, I mean, how good is this? So, I'm going to just go away from fantasy football for, just a minute and, talk with you, Pat, about what's going on at Torrington High School, the year that you had this year with Torrington baseball, and more impressively, Dom Savia. Came on the program with me a couple of weeks ago, and he ended up being the only guest with me, and I was a little concerned whether or not a high school kid would be able to carry a half hour. Forget it. He was all over it. I mean, what an articulate, intelligent, got into the conversation young man. His show will be running again this Thursday between 8 and 9, so tune in here at Cable 5 to see it. He gets it. For a kid that's probably, 16?
yeah, he really does. He gets it in every area too. He's out there working hard every day in practice. Sometimes kids like him, people assume that it goes to their head or something like that. He works, every day he's out on that field. He's a leader, and he doesn't take anything for granted. And he's working at his game, all the time. And he's a great young man, as you said too.
Yeah,
Light,
He
respectful.
swings as lethal a bat as I saw last year. When watching, very impressive to watch him swing, particularly for a kid that's so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed the Thomaston game because he told us a story about the kiss that was blown to him, I guess, from the catcher or something like that. Because I said, Don, what was the deal on that? And it was a great game.
That game had
I
a little bit
loved
of
it.
everything. We kind of enjoyed it
That was
over there.
great. Kobe's ball has still not come down.
Kobe's
Covington's
ball hasn't come down, and there was we got kisses being thrown, and a few words being exchanged here and there, and it was a good, feisty, good game.
It really
good
was,
game to
yeah.
watch. It
I
was
mean,
a
I'm
fun
hoping you
to
have that
watch.
game, every year, right? The rivalry going down there.
Yeah, we'll
come up
see.
here.
And anybody who thinks baseball is boring didn't see that game.
No, that
'cause
was
it
a lot of fun to watch.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it was a great game.
It's a great rivalry, I think, up and down, Route 8. And I think, in general, you guys are doing a terrific job. All the coaches at Torrington High School have been working the last couple of weeks with Gaetan, who is going to be on tonight. He'll probably be on with us on the 14th of September when we tape again. The job he has done with turning that football program, completely around. And this year, the group of seniors that was undefeated as freshmen and won state championships in the Warriors program, which is also huge. How terrific has it been to watch what Gaetan has done with the football team?
It's been great because he's an athlete-centered coach too. It's not always about wins and losses, but it's about character. It's about building that into the kids, and the wins and losses will come with that. And he really does things the right way, and he really puts the kids first and talks about those things off the field that really matter. And that's why he and I really have very similar coaching philosophies.
And he stepped into a most difficult situation that everybody remembered, and we wrote at the time, and we said at the time, we thought he was the perfect guy to come in and kind of try to move them past that. We felt, and we said to this day, that we thought the football team got unfairly pegged, and what transpired for what two kids who were long out of the program, and it was all the football program's fault. But anyways, he's coming, and not just built it on the field, but kind of brought back some of that respect, and that's always an ongoing thing. But he was a good guy in the right job and did a great job there. He's doing a great job.
And I think they'll score some points this year. They scored some points at the end of last year too. I think the game at Crosby. I think they're still scoring now. The Ice Bowl or whatever it was, 75 to something. But I think his defense is going to be pretty good. I was taking pictures the other day of Kobe, and I singled in on a line. They were scrimmaging against Sheehan. It's in the right guard position, and I just put the camera right on him. And the poor kid that was just next to the center starts to go forward, and Kobe goes, "You're down." It was destruction. I mean, Kobe, I think, is really going to be a key. Stephon LaForge looks great inside there. He was opening holes for Tyler Marins that me and Mr. Wilson could saunter through. At some point, we had it, Rick. We were gone because these kids, and it's the 8 of them. We interviewed all 8 of them on camera, and they did a terrific job last Saturday during media day. And Coach was impressed because he said they all kind of said the same thing, but in a different way. Buying into the family end of it, buying into what Coach is trying to preach as far as Raiders across your chest, just being, having the pride in the rest of it. They all, did very well. It's hard not to root for kids like that. You're in a school in Thomaston where all the kids, all 200 and how many this year?
They might be up to 240.
Right, they're cranking. These kids just do it the right way.
Well, after a while, I think, and for some kids, and I know Kyle will say this, Litchfield too, but it's hard for some kids to understand that you're playing for the name on the uniform. It's not just about you. I've always talked and told kids, if you go out there and do something, they're not going to know who you are or what but they know Litchfield High School, Thomaston High School, Torrington High School. Yep. So you're playing for the name, and that name starts to come, and the kids that get it understand that, so.
It works well. I spoke to both Gilbert and Torrington the other day during the break between their two-a-days, and one of the things I encourage them to do is, you score a touchdown, flip the ball to the ref and move on, right? You can celebrate a little bit, but move on, because you've been on the other side of that 48-0 or whatever it was, and we cover Ansonia, and we cover state championship teams. You don't have to celebrate. Let your play on the field, be it. I think what Gaetan, one of his sayings this year is warrior gentlemen. I love it. Be warriors on the field and be gentlemen off the field and gentlemen inside the school. We're looking forward to a great season here. Talk to us what's going on at Litchfield High School as the athletic director of the Cowboys. First of all, were there plaques at the school when you got there for the Tri-State victory, or was it under the radar?
No plaques. No, there were a couple people congratulating me. You guys did a great job with the articles. There's a lot of articles out there, and it was nice to get a lot of compliments from the community members and also my colleagues. So that was actually very nice. So.
Well, it's always nice for us to know. You guys are so welcoming and so nice to us when we come to the gyms and the rest of it. So to actually see someone, that do what you do with the athletic director, come out and have that kind of game with that kind of passion, I think is terrific. And I appreciate you giving me the ball that I almost killed Mr. Wilson with my first pitch during my Tri-State.
You always killed it.
You know what I'm saying?
It was in the dirt. It was a low sinker. We just kind of knocked it off to the side a little bit.
But he whispered Met fan. I said, all right.
We were talking about that, though. You used to see, Pat, these guys, Hall of Fame, they just give you the old lob. Not anymore. I mean, Carl Rivers comes out and fired a decent pitch, and everybody's throwing it on the line. And, so it's a little different than just...
Yeah. No, it's definitely different, and I appreciate you guys and Mr. Wilson. I appreciate the kind words that you had on it, because as reporters, we're not in this to get awards. We usually talk about people that get awards. When a team wins, we talk about them winning the trophy and the rest of it. So when we get it, because Eddie had always said his trifecta was you, myself, and the great Peter Wallace. So now he has all three of us. And we were on the fence that night, and we had a great night. It's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of fun in that end of it, too. Triple play notwithstanding, okay, we have a lot of fun. The fence itself is a story. You know, whoever ends up on the yellow fence at Fusions Park, you know, it's half the fun. You know,
he's got by the way, brand new floor up at Litchfield. I saw some pictures of it today. Looks absolutely gorgeous.
Looks terrific.
So we're ready to go with that. So excited to get on the court.
All right, so I lost my microphone. So John's like, wait, he must be off the air. The Eagle has landed. It's like Apollo 13 over here. But anyway, we only have a couple minutes left. But what we're going to do is a feature we used to do on our radio program on WAPJ.
We're falling apart
and the
here.
sign is falling down to, oh my
apart.
goodness. See, we did the same thing. We didn't put up the second part of tape. Pat is going to pick a random topic out of here, and it's just a question. It's an easy question.
Do you want me to read this?
Sure.
Okay. Favorite pro baseball team, if it applies, how far will they go in 2015?
Sorry, Fat. You told me your team already.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Red Sox are out of it at this point. I'm going to, make a bold prediction and say, that's not going to happen. I still remember 1986.
Sorry. Again.
With Bill Buckner and the Mets, but it's really hard not to root for the Mets. I like that team, and I also, growing up because the Red Sox were out of it a lot, I ended up following Kansas City. So it's nice to see that resurrection with them as well.
That's come up well.
It's been fun to root for them too.
All right, there it comes. It's all the way down. It's a great production value.
That's because
here.
the Mets
and
are there. There it is, right there.
See, there's 3 Met fans in the same room, and the banner fell down. How good is that? Kyle, give us a kick out.
I want his question.
And there it goes.
That was the easy one.
You gotta love tape television. It's not even live, so it's all good.
Who said Ed Sullivan's off the air?
Favorite vacation destination?
Yeah.
City Field.
Ooh. Nothing
Love
better
City
than Shea,
Field.
though, right?
Shea's City Field.
Shea was really.
Yeah.
All right.
I like City Field. Shea was nice, but
A lot of time at City Field.
Yeah.
A lot of time at Shea.
Yes.
Okay. I
Love
guess,
City Field.
Yeah, I mean, City Field,
Honestly,
I think, because
Hawaii,
you can see
but I like
everywhere.
I was going to say, I like all my sports, but if my vacation destination, it's not going to be a baseball park.
Well, you went to like 4 this summer, so what are you kidding?
Well, I did. I liked Wrigley. I did.
But you were on vacation at
But
the
I
same
did,
time.
but I probably would have said Hawaii or Paris or London or, who knows.
That was one Met fan talking to the other there, so we appreciate that. So, well, I think we're about to wrap up this half hour before the chairs fall apart and something falls from the ceiling, a light perhaps or something. But that's how we do it. So we appreciate everybody here. How are we looking on time? We got 1 minute here, so we can sing
1 minute and 32 seconds.
We could sing a song or something, or do it.
Pull another
Mr. Wilson,
question.
pull a
Pull another
thing yet.
question.
Get one out of there, Mr. Wilson. Go ahead.
Best sports memory involving you.
Aha.
Um,
From your.
Lord, who knows? Winning the Berkshire League basketball title in 1868. Winning the Berkshire League basketball title a few years ago. Most valuable player, the Sons of Italy softball tournament a few years ago. There's a few things in there.
So as they do on many of the sports programs, they come in and they tell you the things that you missed. Number 1, there's also fantasy basketball and fantasy hockey, and you don't want to tick off the hockey fans because fantasy hockey is pretty huge for especially the Canadian people.
Everybody loves it.
Their fantasy hockey leagues are packed full of people. Basketball, you forgot about fantasy basketball.
Hey, John, are we still on the air or no?
You are. You have.
Okay, good. I don't know if anybody can hear what John is just.
voice from
John
behind.
is yelling at us because we're not talking
Well,
about
look,
all the other
so
fantasy
So far, our
sports.
banner is
And
falling.
and the reason your banner fell down is because you still didn't talk about the Mets.
We got Frank Sinatra.
We got
going.
Frank bringing us out here.
I'm an Oriole fan. Yeah, we're going to catch you. Yeah.
All right, listen, we want to thank everybody for coming on the show tonight. Pat, it's always a pleasure, my friend. I will
Thank
see
you.
you out there
Same.
on the field. Kyle, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Congratulations
guys.
again for
Appreciate you
Tri-State.
coming on.
Thank
Did a
you.
nice job, Kyle.
That's it for Litchfield County Sports Program. See you next time.
We got to put the banner up.
We did the same thing we did 2 weeks ago where we
the
didn't
humidity.
tape it at the bottom.